This man was being chased by the FBI. Then he threw a bag of stuff out. It happened to fall into the hands of an old lady, Aunt May, but she didn't give it to the FBI, but instead of handing it over to the FBI, she turns around and hands it over. She gave it to a local drug lord, but Auntie May had one request, and that was to join them in selling the stuff, and only 10% of the sales. It was the first time he saw the old lady wanted to bring in the goods, so he gave her some, and let her try it out. She told her the size of each portion was 5 grams. When she got back, Auntie Mui started cutting with a chainsaw, hitting it with handcuffs. There was no response from the jaggery, so he took out his Chinese-made kitchen knife and chopped him to pieces. When he was done, Auntie May forgot to ask how much he could sell it for, so the next day he went to the FBI headquarters and found his son-in-law, and on the pretext that he wanted to see some pictures of contraband, he managed to get a price out of his son-in-law. Then he went to the place where the customers usually go to sell their goods, but since they all bought from people they knew, Auntie May could not sell them at all. Auntie May had no choice but to engage in a price war. She sold them to others at a 20% discount, so Auntie Mui sold out of her first batch of goods. He came to Ma to give him the money for the goods he had brought. Ma was shocked by this. Then he gave Auntie Mui a box. Because of the low price and the good quality of the goods, Auntie Mui quickly sold all her goods. She went back and counted her money happily. The next day, she went to the mall and bought a new TV. Then she changed into a brand new bag and clothes. Auntie Mui's 3 girlfriends were envious of her. He then went to a priest to confess his actions. The priest advised him to turn around. As a result, Auntie Mui said, "I've earned a few years' money in a few days. 1 more year and I'll be retired." He then gave the priest his fee as a donation, but because the money was too much, the priest almost hesitated. And the punks over here, Aunt May couldn't sell her goods because her prices were too low. Then they found Auntie Mui. They took Auntie Mui's money and jaggery away from her. When Auntie Mui returned, she looked at the money and jaggery she had left. She started to think of a way to deal with Ma's side. If Ma found out, he would be in trouble. So he tried his best. He came up with a surprise plan. May was too good at bringing in jaggery. Her peers robbed her of the goods and money to be able to deal with the drug lord boss. So he came up with a great idea. He first cut the bark off the tree, then he put it in a pan and fried it with jaggery. Then he added flour, and then a stupid egg. This was Aunt May's secret trick. When the cake was ready, she asked her best friend to taste it. It tasted so good that she couldn't stop raving about it. She was even a little excited. Auntie Mui knew she had made it, so she produced the jelly cakes overnight. The next day she put them on sale. They were sold out immediately when they went on sale. Then he came to Ma's and gave him the money for the goods he brought. At this point Auntie Mui offered to increase her commission to 30%. If she didn't agree, she would quit. He had no choice but to agree. Auntie Mui was the top seller. Slowly Auntie May no longer had to go out to sell her goods. Customers would all come to Auntie Mui's home to pick up their goods. Brother Ma was no longer reserved with Auntie Mui. He would give him 4 boxes of jaggery every time, so Auntie Mui was ready to get bigger and stronger. First he brought his best friend into the business with him. Then he approached his competitors. "As long as you sell the goods, I will give you each 15% of the commission." That's how the other party agreed to Auntie Mui. With both parties joining forces, Auntie Mui's jelly cakes became more and more famous in the industry, so Auntie Mui became known as the tasty toxic woman. One day, the boss behind Ma invited Auntie Mui to a meeting. Auntie Mui was going to fill in for Ma. Then he put Ma on the roadside, so the boss decided Auntie Mui would produce cakes that children would love, so that she could make more money. Auntie Mui was dumbfounded after hearing this. He didn't sleep a wink when he got back, because Auntie Mui knew she couldn't go on like this, so she decided to wash her hands of the business. Old lady makes $200 million in a few months for selling jaggery. Made $200 million in a few months, so she was ready to quit her job. She took her grandson and her girlfriends on a trip. They're spending money abroad. They stayed in the best hotels in the region. They were waited on, went to the casino and bet on everything. Weeks later, they didn't come back. The home had been destroyed by the drug lords. Then he pushed open his room. Ma had been waiting here for a long time. Ma used Auntie Mui's grandson to coerce him into continuing to sell the goods. And that's when his son-in-law came to visit Aunt May and saw the FBI coming. The two of them jumped out of the window and ran away. Auntie Mui then found her best friend. She was going to rescue her grandson. Here, Baldy heard a noise outside. Then there was a loud bang. Auntie Mui and his friends managed to control Baldy. Then they followed him to his grandson, and so the two sides confronted each other. Auntie Mui proposed to let her grandson go first. Brother Ma agreed. As the grandson was running out, he bumped into his girlfriend's gun, but she didn't know the gun was a fake. Auntie Mui and the others were tied up. Baldy, who had gone after Sun Tzu, was surrounded by the FBI outside. Auntie Mui's side. Ma found Aunt May's side. Ma found a red spot on her face. The FBI behind him broke the window and entered. It turned out that her son-in-law had already known all about it. Then Auntie May asked her son-in-law, but he was told off by Ma. As a result, Auntie Mui and the others were arrested anyway. But the customers who had eaten the jaggery cake did not agree. They protested wildly outside the FBI headquarters. They were over 70 years old. Southwest, the court gave them a suspended sentence. The last of the Auntie Muis opened a proper cake shop. Business was very good, and the drug lords were all arrested. And that's the end of the film.